Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning, kicking things off. Oh man, where do I even begin? Thank you guys so much. First and foremost, thank you so much to Winter Veggie for the tier 1 gifted sub and Mayhem Hippie with the 100 biddies. This all feels so weird. Yeah, it does a little bit. It does. But this is where we're at. Man. It does feel a little bit different. Echo Wrestler Dragon, how's it going? I guess there's a couple of different pros, I guess. For one, I can be a little bit more relaxed and I don't have as much of a time constraint in the sense that, like, if I'm not out by hard stop 11:28.30 seconds on the dot, then I'll be like late for work or something like that. Late for work. And I mean, at least it gives me a chance to kind of just do my own thing without too much worry about that. Like, that's a plus. How's it going, Echo Resto Dragon? Winter Veggie, getting to work my second work from home side job, living the American dream. That's right. The old proverbial bootstraps. We've got a few things on the docket. So I guess we'll start on this one. Surprise, surprise. U.S. concludes that gunfire from Israeli military positions most likely killed the Palestinian-American journalist. Oh, man. I'm going to butcher this name, but I'm going to try anyways. Shireen Abu Akleh said the State Department on Monday, adding that there was no reason to believe that her shooting was intentional. The issue is that they lied about it. The issue is that they lied about it, so, that's kind of a problem. I got a chore. It's actually a time where I can somewhat reliably be here. Well, I appreciate that. I got a chore lurk. I'll be listening and cooking the food. Nice. Mono, they unironically shot live ammo towards their position. They unintentionally shot live ammo towards their position. Yeah, that's right. Good to see you streaming. Hey, Zeoduke. The bullet that killed Abu Akleh, veteran Al Jazeera reporter in the occupied West Bank, was so badly damaged that a forensic analysis overseen by the U.S. officials could not reach a definitive conclusion about its origin. That's kind of weird. Having been granted access to both Israeli and Palestinian investigations over the past few weeks, the U.S. security coordinator of the team overseeing the investigation concluded that the gunfire from IDF positions was likely responsible. The IDF, or Israeli Defense Forces, is the country's military force. Remember, I could have sworn that they first started saying, well, the Israeli military said that it wasn't them. But yeah. Good evening. It is the anniversary of me spawning. Hope everyone is well. Well, happy birthday or happy spawn day, as Mayhem Hippie says. That's right. They even went a step forward by saying that it was the Palestinian militants who were, on the complete other side. Yeah, we know for sure that it wasn't just the U.S. that concluded this. I believe the UN also concluded that it must have been the Israeli Defense Force. Yeah, it must have been the other guys, and they went that way. Whether it was intentional or not, it's kind of besides the point, since their first claim was originally... Yeah, exactly. They started off by lying, which is a problem. The U.S. investigators found... Ooh, like a little fly dude. was no reason to be intentional, but rather a result of tragic circumstance. What? Okay. How does that work? Wasn't she wearing like a very obvious, like, a very obvious, like press, outfit? Like she was wearing a press bulletproof outfit and a press like Kevlar helmet, I think. I mean, what? How was that? Okay. My 9-year-old daughter came to that conclusion also. It's abhorrent. Something needs to be done. Yeah, in a just world, there would be some, like, serious, like, investigations and consequences and accountability. Investigation. Oh, there it is. I should have just kept reading. The investigations by the UN and a slew of independent Western media organizations found that the Israeli fire was to blame. But word from Washington, so often the mediator in the broader Israeli-Palestine conflict, will be seen as significant. The IDF said that in its own statement that the source of the gunfire could not be determined, adding that it had conclusively determined that no IDF soldier deliberately fired at Miss Abu Akleh. Oh yeah, so we're shifting the we're shifting the goalpost to we didn't do it, to it was the Palestinian militants, to, well, we did do it, but like RB, what, wasn't our, I mean, we didn't mean to. So that's where we're at. Can we upgrade their navy blue flak jackets to bulletproof vehicles? Seriously. I mean, it's clear, like, the outfit that she was wearing very clearly said press. I don't get it. I mean, ideally, they wouldn't be shooting so inaccurately as to hit things they weren't aiming at. Yeah, and if so, if it was true, if it was a god-honest mistake, then Jesus, how? Hussein al-Sheikh, the head of Civil Affairs Department of Palestinian Authority, retweeted that the Israeli occupation government bears responsibility for the assassination. Israeli human rights groups BT Salem said the investigation was a U.S.-backed whitewash. It criticized Washington in a statement for seeking to dismiss the killing as an accident and not as a crime for which who's responsible should be held to account. Abu Akleh was shot dead as she was covering the raid in the West Bank on May 11th. Her killing and ensuing feud, as well as an Israeli police crackdown at her funeral. Yeah, those images were horrifying, by the way. If you guys have seen that, sheesh. Have stoked tensions between the two sides before a visit by President Biden. The Palestinians accused the U.S. Oh man, Freudian slip. The Israeli military of killing her deliberately, and Israel denies that, saying Abu Akleh may have been hit by an errant fire from one of its soldiers or by nearby Palestinian gunmen who said we're clashing with its forces, right? That the original claim was we didn't do it. It was them. We did do it, but it was not on purpose. Yeah. Al Jazeera staff members who witnessed the incident, as well as another reporter who was wounded, have said that Israeli forces fired the shots that killed their colleague. Reporters who were with Abu Akleh, including one who was shot and wounded, said that there was no clashes of Palestinian militants in the area when she was killed. All of them were wearing protective equipment that clearly identified them as members of the media. Right. That's exactly what I thought in my head. Yeah. Last month, the UN Human Rights Office said its investigation found that she was killed by IDF fire and not indiscriminate shots from Palestinians, as Israel claims. Under increasing international and domestic pressure, Israel asked the Palestinians to hand over the bullet that killed Abu Akleh so it could perform forensic analysis to determine who fired it. The Palestinians did so only after Washington got involved, although there was disagreement about what exactly entailed. There was disagreement about exactly what that entailed. Palestinian officials said they handed over the bullet to U.S. officials with assurances that Israel would not conduct the ballistics test. Israel officials made it clear that it would be their test with oversight by U.S. officials. What? Okay. The U.S. Security Coordinator, a team made up by Defense Department officials assigned to the State Department, said in a statement that it had overseen and been granted full access to the analysis. Washington continues to encourage cooperation between Israel and Palestinian Authority. We will remain engaged with Israel and PA on the next steps and urge accountability. We again offer our deepest condolences to the Abu Akleh family. Wait a second. Urge accountability? Is that like an implicit, like, you know, I'm not saying it was, but if it was intentional, then we need to find out, like, what exactly happened here. That's a bit weird. Anyways. What an abhorrent story. And after multiple, like, different sources confirm this, the U.S. finally decides to confirm it, that it is true that it was the IDF forces who indeed killed this reporter. All right, in a mellow topic, Cheney Committee DOJ could each make Trump criminal referrals in connection with January 6th. Representative Cheney, vice chair of the Jan 6 committee, said it's possible that there could be multiple criminal referrals. She told ABC News this week that while the January 6th committee will decide whether Trump should face charges, the Justice Department could make criminal referrals without waiting for the committee, adding that there could be more than one criminal referral. Cheney said that she would be more worried about not holding people accountable than what it means for a country for a former president to be prosecuted. I agree with this. Like, this isn't like an attempt to, obfuscate how horrible Liz Cheney is. But in this sense, she is correct. Okay? I mean, it's kind of hollow at the end of the day, having all of this, I guess, political grandstanding. When at the end of the day, I mean, we can check the records. Liz Cheney has voted consistently with the Trump agenda, and she aligns politically more or less, basically, just with him. I think it's a much graver constitutional threat if a president can engage in these kind of activities and, the majority of the president's party looks away, or we as a country decide, we're not actually going to take our constitutional obligations seriously, and I think that's a much more serious threat. I think that the undermining of democratic norms, of democratic institutions, and arguably the most sacred of those institutions, which is the electoral process, I think that that's a pretty big threat. Alio with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Cheney's comments come days after the former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson gave a shocking testimony during the Tuesday's hearing. Hutchinson said that Trump knew that someone in the crowd was at his Stop the Steal rally was armed, and he directed that armed mob to the U.S. Capitol. Yeah. And just to be clear, like, Hutchinson either isn't like an angel. in this whole ordeal, too. When asked about critics that say that Hutchinson was not telling the truth, Cheney said that the committee is not going to stand by and watch her character be assassinated by anonymous sources and by men who are claiming executive privilege. Yeah, like, not only that, like, these folks have their opportunity if they want to come forward and present their evidence. Representative Adam Kitzinger, another member of the committee, said that on CNN State of the Union that more witnesses have come forward following Hutchinson's testimony. Democratic Representative Zoe Lofgren of California also said a member of the committee said on NBC's Meet the Press that she expected Trump would try to discredit Hutchinson as she gave her testimony. Yeah, which was all over Truth Social. She has nothing to gain but by stepping forward and telling the truth, and Trump has everything in the world, has everything to lose by truth. And Trump world has everything to lose by truth. I know some angry about Watergate. I say to them, there's a new jerk and conspiracy now. Yeah, I mean, like, well, Watergate's like nothing compared to this. Watergate's nothing compared to this. Adam Schiff on CBS Face the Nation said that the next hearing will be focused on the efforts to assemble that mob on the mall, who was participating and who was financing it, how it was organized, including participation of these white nationalist groups like the Proud Boys, the Three Percenters, and others. The next committee hearing has not been announced. I'm sure that during July they're going to do more hearings. So just keep an eye out for that, because that's very important. Like, Watergate is nowhere near. At least Nixon knew and Equity knew. He knew to wait there in 3 years. Trump never is quiet. Yeah, but like, this is nothing compared to Watergate. I mean, like, the president of the United States absolutely attempted to subvert the entirety of the democratic process and was supported by the Republican Party. I mean, there was Congress people who are ready to support him in this as effective coup. Effectively, what is a coup? I don't think we've ever seen anything close to this. The idea that there would be a political party like having coordination with the president is just to overturn the elections is just wild. It's just an unfathomable scenario up until the Trump era. And that would just be like it is an unfathomable idea until the Trump era. Speaking of which, leading GOP Oklahoma State Senate candidate says he's not beholden to Jewish people and listed the Jewish people among examples of evil. Yeah, the Republican Party, folks, if this is allowed to continue, pretty sure that this is where it's heading. I just hope that there's not someone smarter than Trump to dictate everyone's actions. Oh, you're thinking of DeSantis, my friend. Whoa, what the F did I just come back to? Ah, yes, the new, just casual Nazi shit on the Republican Party. You know, just a leading state senate candidate for Oklahoma. Right-wing and he's a streamer. Jesus. All right, that's it. I have to run. I have to run for office. Listen, if this streamer can run for office, then so can I. Right-wing streamer Jaron Jackson. He's probably a what is it? It starts with D-Live. D-Live. He's probably a D-Live streamer. Yeah, the casual fascism just par for the course now, I guess. Right-wing streamer Jaron Jackson recently received the most votes in a Republican primary for Oklahoma State Senate and is headed off to a runoff election. Jackson has repeatedly posted anti-Semitic remarks online, including that he says he's not beholden to Jewish people and listing Jewish people as evidence that evil exists. Jackson received the most votes. Jesus Christ. So yeah, this is a problem because if this guy ran and was just completely laughed out of the race, whatever, didn't even get like 1% of the vote, whatever. The problem here is that he managed to win pretty definitively. And will be heading off to a August 23rd runoff against Republican ally Seafried. Jackson is a business owner who frequently posts his commentaries online, including on Facebook. These are the same people, I bet, who cry that Facebook is, censoring them. Does not seem to be on Twitch. No, I think this guy's probably on D-Live. Do it. He wrote on his campaign site that he recently authored and self-published a live local field manual to train Americans on organizing and responding to escalating tyranny on the wake of the stolen 2020 elections. This is another direct result of Donald Trump's stochastic terrorism. His campaign website lists endorsements. Hey, look at that. So again, it's not just one single person. This is not a one-of event. Let's see. Endorsements from fellow Arizona Republican State Representative Mark Feinstein and Senator Wendy Rogers, both of whom have a history of supporting extremism. Nice. So he's not alone. Right-Wing Watch has documented numerous toxic actions from Jackson, including shooting Dominion voting machines. What? While repeating lies about the 2020 election being stolen. Pushing anti-LGBTQ bigotry and declaring that he would love to shoot, quote, godless commies. Yeah. I mean, clearly, this is indistinguishable from, like, basically any Republican leadership at this point. At this point, it's almost indistinguishable, because unless there's some like heavy pushback, to be like, hey, this guy actually doesn't belong here. We need to kick him out. We need to have a hard stance on this. This is just a hard line. No, kick this guy out of the party. No. He's getting endorsements. He's getting votes. Not a peep. Not a peep. Very telling. Is he on Facebook or YouTube? I don't know. I don't know if he would be allowed on YouTube, but apparently Facebook is cool with that. Media Matters found anti-Semitic remarks by Jackson on his Telegram page. Oh, okay, so he does all his Nazi shit on Telegram. Of course. Those comments were made prior to him announcing his state Senate campaign, which is linked to from his campaign site. Okay. On January 29th, he wrote, "The answer to Zionism or any other ism is the gospel of Jesus Christ, his death, burial, and resurrection of salvation of sin. I'm not beholden to Jews or any other group. People need to repent and believe the gospel. Hell is going to be hot." Yeah, these people need to, they just need to just not be in power. These people do not belong in power in any way, shape, or form, and this is the standard Republican Party. I mean, it's making its way to mainstream, full-on state Senate, Oklahoma State Senate candidates who are endorsed by other Republicans, and not a peep from the Republican convention on that state at all. Nothing. Hi on your new schedule day. Howdy. One of them was like separation of church and state is wrong. Just outright a couple weeks ago. Yeah. That's right. Why did it get auto-modded? I don't see it. Just try to type it out with spaces or something. And see if that helps. Because I can't see it here. We have political turmoil here in London. Oh yeah, didn't a couple of folks resign or something like that? It was... Yeah. On February 6th, Jackson wrote a review of the right-wing documentary Enemies Within the Church and listed the Jews after noting that evil exists and saying outline and detail the evil. The rest of the list was the Illuminati, COVID shots kill, the Rothschilds, the communists, the woke pastors, social gospel. What? And then he stated that people... this is a death cult, folks. This needs to be stopped. This needs to be stopped. He then stated that people need to preach the gospel or else saying bad stuff is bad is worthless. Jam Tomb rating with a party of 6. Thank you so much. Hey, welcome everybody. Boris Johnson's prime minister job is hanging by a thread. Oof. Everybody go to twitch.tv/jamtoom. Go show them some love, please. This J.R. Jackson too sure about Hitler, does not realize he was Jewish. Yeah. Man, I really envy people who celebrate 4th and not think of how much of our fraud of our country is. Yeah, nothing to celebrate, that's for sure. At this point. Overall, I agree with the evil with the idea that evil stuff is bad. It details communists bought off seminaries and the need to get the gospel, but then it never says the gospel. Christ died for your sins, damn it. He was buried and 3 days later rose from the grave, according to the scripture. Okay, according to a book, written by men, who has been repeatedly altered and translated and manipulated. Yeah, we need to believe that book. I do not recommend the documentary because without specifying what the gospel of Jesus Christ is, why wield the gospel as a tool for societal change? Yeah, this is their goal, folks. Their goal is to remake society in their image, and that is scary, okay? These people are in a death cult, okay? These people need to be stopped. They belong nowhere near power. And all the hand-wringing and detail about how evil and infiltrated evil is does nothing to prove by what people already know evil exists. outline and detail the evil. Amen. The Jews, Illuminati, COVID shots kill, Rothschilds, communists, woke pastors. What is woke pastors? Social gospel. What is social gospel? Christ will chuck a bunch of stuff in the fire, but if you don't preach the gospel, what it is and why people must believe it, then saying bad stuff is bad is worthless. Christ died for your sins. Christ died for sinners because sin is our enemy, the only thing separating us from God. Christ did not die for America or prosperity or tradition or your comfort. Keep the main thing, church. I do believe that a gospel-proclaiming church will build a culture that gets a prosperous society. America is evidence of that. Okay. It's my birthday and we got hit with the monsoon making us move the yurt out of the hole. We also need a roof. Well, happy birthday. Second person today. Look at that. Happy birthday, Jamtube. Well, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Let's celebrate. Trump did not do the Alex Jones announcement yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's... I don't know. Folks, it's Jamtoom's birthday. Make sure you go show them some love, alright? Go follow. Go do what you can to help them. Jackson has also repeatedly referenced the Rothschild on his Telegram page. Anti-Semitic conspiracies have long falsely claimed that the Rothschild family is a leading group of Jewish people and secretly controlling... Yeah, it's the JQ. In February 6th, post reference above, he listed Rothschild as an example showing that evil exists. Before November 3rd of 2020, I would have rolled my eyes at people invoking the Rothschilds or MK Ultra or other conspiracy theories, but then he saw the election supposedly being stolen from Trump. Before November 3rd of 2020, I would have rolled my eyes at people invoking Rothschilds or MK Ultra. I watched my 9-year-old son, five states stop counting. I remember Fox News reporting Arizona within minutes of polls closing. Yeah. Okay. I remember the statistically impossible jumps of votes counted for Biden that happened to give him razor win margins. I remember judges not ruling because of standing. Yeah, we have like a judicial system. If you don't have standing, if your lawsuit's garbage, it's gonna get thrown out. I remember pizza boxes blocking the windows. I remember a PA sheriff refusing to enforce a quarter for access of ballot tabulation. I remember media's coordinated announcement of Biden's victory. I remember Trump not conceding. I remember we the people lawfully and patiently waiting for our systems and institutions and politicians to do the obvious and right things. I won't quit, you won't quit, and they won't quit. This is war. Spiritual and psychological, economic and information battles. Christ saves us from sin. Only Christ determines heaven or hell. Jesus. This is a death cult, folks. I'll be back on stream burning American flags and eating Indian tacos later. Nice. Go make sure you go follow. Sorry to tell you, but Project MK Ultra is not a complete conspiracy theory. I'll have to look into that. Christ saves us from sin, and only Christ determines heaven or hell. And until he calls me home, I will wage war as he commands. It is evil to not fight evil. Now go to war. Jesus. Yeah, these people need to be stopped, folks. On February 14th of 2021, he pushed a conspiracy theory that one of the Rothschilds applied for and was granted a patent for COVID-19 testing. In 2015, Reuters wrote the false claim that a testing method for COVID-19 was patented by Richard Rothschild in 2015 and 2015. 2015 and 2017 have been shared online. The patent system for analysis biometric data to determine whether the user is suffering was not applied for until May of 2020. Anyways, this is where we're at, folks. This is where we're at. The U.S. was not even thought of when Jesus was around. This is where we're at. I think just to kind of piggyback off our previous conversation about just how close and how very real fascist beliefs are taking hold and gaining power. Yeah. It is not an exaggeration to say that this is becoming uncomfortably way too open. The proper response to this should be that this guy, I mean, like in a normal, reasonable, sensible world, is that the party kicks him out, completely revocates any ability for him to run under their party anyways, does not give them any inch of support whatsoever, takes away any funding, just completely it torpedoes any chances that this dude has, and completely squashes and takes out any oxygen of this dude's campaign in any way, shape, or form. Immediately, the moment this happened. It's already, what, June 30th? That was last week. Okay? This was last week. All right, we've got one video.
How does China plan to increase energy efficiency in its industrial sector? And where is Biden leasing land to fossil fuels now? Welcome to the Climate Recap from the Beckosphere Climate Corner, your go-to place for international and US-based climate news. I've missed you. I'm Becky Hogue, a science writer. Today is Tuesday, July 5th. Let's jump right into the news you need to start your day. Let's start with some extreme weather events. More than 150 flood evacuation orders have been made in New South Wales, particularly northwest Sydney, as 3 days of torrential rains might have caused the area to beat the flood records made earlier this year in March and April.
Folks, we're going to finish this, and then we're going to get into this one. Oh, boy. And then we've got a media literacy test, okay? So pay attention.
According to the State Emergency Service, almost 150 rescues were made at the time of this recording, with over 5,300 calls for help. The Premier warns this crisis is far from over, as there's still a substantial risk of flash floods. Over in Asia, India and Bangladesh are on week 3 of torrential rains. Overall, about 240 people have died from floods since May 17th. A mudslide in northeast India just killed 14 people, with 30 still missing. Meanwhile, in Europe, 7 people died and 13 are missing in an avalanche when part of the Marmara Glacier collapsed. Italy's prime minister has already declared this without a doubt connected to climate change. Italy has been going through a heat wave, and the glacier was reaching temperatures 10 degrees Celsius above average recently. And in the US, the Texan city of San Antonio had 17 days of triple-digit heat in June. Normally, they have 2 days at or above 100 degrees Fahrenheit in June, and they're back to reaching over 100-degree temperatures right now, which looks like it will continue for at least 9 days. This heat has been deadly. Last week, 53 Latin migrants were found dead in the back of a truck that reached 173 degrees Fahrenheit, or
173 degrees Fahrenheit. Was 50-something people dead? Jesus Christ. Gotta love natural disasters, true.
78.3 degrees Celsius. They were likely being trafficked into the country. Such a tragedy. Okay, time for a climate study. A recent DNV report looked at the present and future of hydrogen power, which it says will play a small but important role in decarbonizing hard-to-electrify sectors. It seems like biofuels and hydrogen are mainly competing for this space. Right now, hydrogen only makes up about 0.5% of the global energy generation, and most of that comes in the form of gray or blue hydrogen, which is made as a byproduct of coal and gas energy generation. However, investments are ramping up for green hydrogen generation. The report foresees hydrogen in general reaching 5% of the energy supply by 2050. The researchers see blue hydrogen being prioritized first, representing 30% of hydrogen production by 2030. Green hydrogen will represent 72% of hydrogen production by 2050. That means 28% will still be made as a byproduct of fossil fuel production, according to the report. That's a lot. The reason why is how power intense producing hydrogen off clean energy is. Powering enough electrolyzers to reach the capacity equivalent to 72% of 5% of the global energy generation would require twice as much clean energy than the world currently has installed. The study predicts that repurposing natural gas pipelines to pipe hydrogen costs 10 to 35% of the price of building a new one, and that over half of the hydrogen pipelines will be repurposed. Hydrogen will likely be transported mostly in the form of ammonia. Let's check out some climate victories. Research by the London School of Economics Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change saw a surge in the number of climate lawsuits against fossil fuel companies over the past year. Most climate change-related lawsuits are made against states for inaction, but fossil fuel ones are growing in the ranks. Overall, they've more than doubled since 2015, with 2,002 in all, and about a quarter of them were made in the past 2 years. Growth seems to be everywhere but in the US. Lawsuits against food and agriculture, transport, plastics, and finance companies are growing as well.
Oh. We'll get to that.
Over to Asia now, where China plans to cut industrial energy consumption per unit of output, or energy intensity, by 13.5% from 2021 to 2025. The plan would be carried out through the introduction of new technology, standards, and financial sectors. Energy intensity was already reduced by 6.5% last year, according to the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. The industry sector currently accounts for 65% of overall national energy consumption, and simply improving efficiency can contribute to reducing China's overall emissions by 37% by 2050, according to the ministry. Some industries the plan will address are steel, non-ferrous metals, construction materials, and data centers.
Jeez.
In Europe, a northern town in Sweden is undergoing a green revolution as H2 Green Steel's fossil-free steelworks project just began. This multi-billion-dollar project is trying to reduce CO2 emissions from the steelmaking process by about 90%.
Nice.
There's a massive effort right now to decarbonize state-run mines. Europe's first battery megafactory, called Northvolt ETT, is also located in that region, along with fossil-free fertilizer and aviation biofuel factories. This region is the jewel for Sweden's carbon neutral by 2045 goal. These factories are right next to other state-run utility and mining companies that have blackened the surrounding area in ash. They used coking coal to purify iron ore. The goal is for the factory to be run on hydrogen in the future. The government put $40 billion into the company Hybrids to make that happen. Over in South America, Colombia became the first nation in the Western Hemisphere to protect 30% of its oceans, banning fishing and oil exploration in those areas. That announcement was made by the country's outgoing president, fulfilling his promise made during COP26 with over 100 other countries to preserve 30% of their waters by 2030.
What? Damn, I thought Costa Rica was going to be on that. Damn. Or did they already do it?
Part of that is 30% of their land by 2030. Less than 8% of the world's oceans are currently preserved. President Duque announced his country's increased emphasis on ocean preservation during the UN Ocean Conference in Portugal. The land preserved will be split into 4 zones. And in the United States, the White House announced that $700 million in private investments have been raised to spur electric vehicle charging infrastructure adoption. These investments are set to create more than 2,000 jobs and increase its domestic capacity to produce about 250,000 new EV charging stations a year. The biggest investor was Volkswagen, which announced it would invest $450 million. Volkswagen plans to surpass Tesla's EV sales by 2025. The other big investor in the project was Siemens, the largest industrial factory company in Europe, which said it would invest $250 million. Time for some climate fails. Mexico's President Obrador cut the ribbon on the country's largest oil refinery, even though it's still under construction until 2023. The Olmeca factory is owned by the state-run oil company Pemex and has gone billions of dollars over budget. This president has been criticized for supporting the construction of new fossil fuel projects, but the president insists it's providing energy independence.
Okay, but my dude, there are plenty of ways to make yourself energy independent. That is a gross misdirection. You can make yourself energy independent by using renewables, as an example. Like, fossil fuel does not always have to equal energy. Fossil fuel can be energy to use for energy, but doesn't have to be. There are other ways to make yourself energy independent.
In the U.S., President Biden announced a new 5-year offshore drilling plan 2 days after the ruling of West Virginia versus EPA. If you don't know about the Supreme Court case, I just did a video on that ruling and what it means for U.S. federal climate action and U.S. federal regulatory ability in general. So definitely check that out. That's why I didn't upload Friday's episode. But the bottom line is Biden's announcement was poor timing. Also, he said he'd stop drilling on public lands and waters when he was running for president. This new 5-year policy goes against his promise by allowing the Interior Department to lease up to 11 oil and gas projects in the Pacific.
Woohoo! Nice one. Nice one, Jack. Nice one. Yeah. Cool. Some good memes.
Atlantic and mainly the Gulf. But it reserves the department's right to not lease any sales. It's slightly a cop-out because he's basically giving the responsibility of fulfilling his promise to the department instead of dealing with it himself. But there's a chance Secretary Deb Haaland will not lease any spots. We'll have to keep an eye on this story. Biden had also recently announced new oil and gas lease sales on land last week, and this plan is now being sued by a coalition of 10 environmental groups. They are suing the administration about sales in Montana, Nevada, North Dakota, and Utah, arguing the new sales violate the Federal Land Policy and Management Act, in which the Interior Department must prevent unnecessary or undue degradation of federal lands.
Nice.
They argue these sales would cost billions in harm to the land, the water, air, wildlife, and public health. The plaintiffs include the Sierra Club and the Center for Biological Diversity.
Based.
Let's end with a great piece of chemical news. California just passed the nation's toughest plastic pollution bill, which experts say might prevent 23 million tons of plastic pollution by 2032. Called the Plastic Pollution Producers Responsibility Act, it requires a 25% reduction in plastic packaging and foodware, both in weight and number of items, within the next 10 years. That way, the responsibility for reducing plastic waste is put on the producers instead of the consumers. The act also pledges California to achieve a 65% recycling rate for plastics by 2032 and requires all companies to make all of their single-use plastics to either be fully recyclable or compostable by that same year, and to contribute $500 million in total to a plastic mitigation fund. 60% of that will prioritize lower income and minority communities who have been disproportionately impacted by pollution. Plastic is made from fossil fuels, is produced using fossil fuels, and can combine with oil spills to make the problem worse. So those are 3 ways they're connected to climate change.
Huh.
And that was your climate news for Tuesday, July 5th. There's actually more climate news that happened from Friday till now that I didn't have time to cover, so check out my source list in the description box below for more. If you like the work I do, please follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, leave a review, and consider checking out the Beckosphere Climate Corner YouTube channel. Remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations. Bye for now.
Based. Go show some support to this channel, folks. We need to get these sub numbers up. Right now it's at 69. Nice. Come on, we need to get these sub numbers up. All right, folks. It's time for some media literacy. The rush towards green energy has left U.S. incredibly vulnerable to summer blackout. Expert warns. Huh. Interesting. Okay. I'll bite. Expert says renewable energy doesn't work and could lead to more blackouts. Okay. All right. Every area of the U.S. could be in danger of experiencing power outages this summer amid a push to convert to renewable energy sources while taking traditional sources of power offline. What they mean is getting rid of fossil fuels. I I think the entire country is incredibly vulnerable because the entire country is facing a huge energy shortage, and I don't think there's any place that is truly safe. Daniel Turner, founder and executive director at Power of the Future. Oh, okay, this is our expert. Huh. Alright. Huh. Okay. Let's take a look at our expert over here. Okay. Power of the Future, Daniel Turner. Founder and executive director. For nearly 20 years, he has worked in communications and public affairs. Huh. So, not an expert on this. Okay. Oh boy. It gets better, chat. It gets better. I found Mr. Turner. He's literally in business, definitely not an expert. No, not an expert on energy, not an expert on climate change, not an expert on the effects of fossil fuels. Founder and executive director of Power the Future. Advocating for American energy. Okay. I mean, yeah, it would be renewable energy is okay. What is American energy? I don't know what that means. And exposing the socialist radical green political movement. His pinned tweet. 10 years ago, this was a thriving downtown. Then came along the purely political war on coal, funded by billionaire ideologues. They've ruined this town and many others, and they don't care. Truly normal stuff here from Mr. Daniel Turner, our resident expert, apparently, according to Fox News. This is the garbage that gets pushed on Fox. Unreal. The Netherlands is finding out their real monarch is Klaus Schwab from the Royal House of WEF. I meant in its World Economic Forum. I live in the middle of a civil war country. Jeez, that's news to me. That is news to me. I live in the middle of civil war country and have had historians and adventurers ask me to bring metal decorators on the property along the river. Yesterday we found this berries on the river bank. Could be civil war, could be nothing. Oh, never mind. Hold on. Civil war country, meaning where the Civil War happened. I mean, yeah, in America. Okay. Finally done my dishes, and my neighbors probably think I had severe issues yelling, "Holy F." Okay. A retweet of this clown. These people are mentally disturbed. Apparently, climate activists are mentally disturbed. China's new coal plants nearly offset all coal plant retirements in the world. Joe Biden and climate crazies won't tell you this. First of all, I'm not convinced that statement is true. And second of all, I wouldn't really characterize Joe Biden as a climate crazy. Yeah. I don't know about that one. The next one is food and energy uprisings in Europe, Africa will spread and get much worse. Yeah, because of climate change. You know, the thing that the climate crazies are worried about. Yeah. All their leaders meet at some sort of their leaders all meet at some resort with John Kerry and WF Klaus Schwab and agreed to punishing crippling globalist climate lies. And their citizens are waking up. Okay. Hey, I'm doing dishes too. Is it dish time? Just like Teddy Roosevelt. Wasn't Teddy Roosevelt, in particular, a little bit better when it comes to, like, climate? People once ran for office to do the hard work and prove what they could. This guy ran on a cushy job and perks for being called Your Honor. He would do everyone a favor. He just quit and let a real leader take over. Yeah, the irony of invoking Teddy Roosevelt. Anyways, this unhinged individual is the Fox News expert. At issue are blackouts that become widespread across the country this summer. This summer, as grid operators struggle to meet the increased demand, a problem that has plagued some states for years now, but could threaten much of the country. A lot of it has to do with privatization of the power electric companies or whatever, refusing to update their infrastructure because, well, it costs money and we can't touch the pretty little profits. Turner said that some states are increased threat this year, especially those who have had made political pushes to switch to the so-called source of green energy. Renewable energy dependence could lead to rolling blackouts in Michigan. I love the framing of this. The areas of the country I'd most be concerned about are the ones that already have inherent weaknesses. Turner said Texas in particular, they have a lot of different problems. Number one being the Republican Party. Number two being the fact that the Republican Party allowed so much deregulation, so much privatization of their electric system, that it has failed numerous times. California, again, California is one of the biggest problems that they had was the privatization is PG&E. PG&E cost California so much. At least these are the ones that I specifically know about. New Mexico, yeah, like imagine like not understanding that a lot of this, especially with Texas, like the grid problems that they're having is because of privatization, because of Republican leadership. These areas of New Mexico, New York, and all of New England, these areas whose policies and political decisions have weakened their electric grid. And furthermore, if you do a lot more localized like renewable energy systems, sort of like kind of microgrids, they would be much more resilient. Potential outages come as many states have moved quickly to take plants that produce traditional sources of energy such as coal and natural gas offline and switch production over to renewable, which currently does not have the capacity to keep up with demand of a hot summer. Part of the issue with renewable energy, such as wind and solar, is that it's dependent on variables outside of human control, with some not having enough wind or sunshine to continuously produce power. Batteries. This is a false. Batteries are in development that could help store excessive energy for later use, but the technology is currently expensive and not fully developed. Also false. Wait, what is this? Who is this saying this? Oh, our resident expert, called in by Fox News, Mr. David Turner. Let me see here. Resident expert, Fox News expert, David Turner. Seen here with Tucky. Advocating for American energy, exposing socialist radical green political movements. Views are my own. I think this should be enough. That could force grid operators into tough decisions to maintain the integrity of the overall electric grid when demand picks up, but Turner argues that the move to renewable energy is a mistake altogether. Of course. The Midwest is particularly vulnerable this summer, even though it has been for decades more immune to the rolling blackouts and brownouts that typically plague the West. Regulators in Illinois have warned of controlled outages that could occur in the summer, with one electric company sending a warning letter to customers during potential heat waves. A recent generation capacity auction has revealed that the Midwest could fall short of needed generation capacity to serve the summer peak load under certain conditions. Southeast Illinois Electric Cooperative said in the letter, in the event that happens, your cooperative would be directed to disconnect a portion of the load in order to prevent an electric grid failure. Critics have blamed the potential shortage on Illinois Governor Jay Pritzker's vow to move the state to 100% renewables by 2045, which has caused investment in traditional sources to plummet. If you look at any country worldwide, or any state in America that has pushed green energy mandates by government action, not one of them has been successful. That's not true at all. That's actually not true at all. And you can measure that on multiple levels of success in terms of what they actually purport to or claim that they would produce in terms of electricity, reliability, cost. What? Renewables are incredibly cheap. What are you talking about? In terms of actual construction or cost to consumers? Grid operators in Michigan have also been bracing for the possibility of blackouts this summer, with the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator's seasonal assessment finding the capacity shortfalls in both north and central regions of MISO, leaving those areas at increased risk of temporary controlled outages to preserve the integrity of the bulk electric system. Michigan has been one of those states to push over to renewable energy while simultaneously taking traditional plants offline. With Michigan Public Service Commission currently considering taking 2 more plants offline near the future. So I have family land. I was thinking of making a hydroponic farm in the future, but ripped those dreams because the land is being sold and I can't do anything about it. Oof. If I want to keep some, I have to pay out the price of the land to all the other heirs. Oh, well, damn. How far can you stick your head into the sand? Apparently enough that it lands you a job in Fox, or at least a segment on Fox News. Michigan has been one of those states. Yes, we know Michigan is going down the same route that before New Mexico has gone and California has gone. Electric companies in the state have resorted to call for action, taking to social media to urge customers to demand to keep the plants online. We need your help to keep the lights in Michigan in the summer and beyond. Electric reliability is at risk today, and demand is projected to grow as soon as this week. Michigan regulators are considering closing down more power plants in Michigan. Please join me in telling them that reliability matters, and they shouldn't prematurely close these plants. Joe Trotter, the Energy, Environment, and Agriculture Task Force Director for the American Legislative Exchange Council, told Fox News last month that policymakers should be more aware of the impact their decisions will have on their constituents. Our leaders need to be real cognizant of the day-to-day impact. It's great to look at the future, but present has a huge impact on their constituencies. Yeah, I have a question. Isn't the majority of California not renewable, or what? And furthermore, specifically again with the in regards to California, a lot of these problems were caused by PG&E. So actually, according to research, just taking 5 seconds to kind of figure out what's going on here. Most of the causes for the California blackouts, especially in August, that left millions, are basically climate change and outdated policies and practices that fail to adequately take into account hotter weather. So, bad planning. It's not the renewables, folks. Like the increase in temperatures, and essentially poor planning are what's to blame. Poor government planning. Well, the companies that deal with this have poor ways of planning ahead. In fact, I believe I read actually somewhere that they use previous data to make adjustments. When obviously we're seeing a situation here where we can't rely on previous data. So what's the major companies with rolling blackouts? What are the major companies? I don't know, but in California, I think the biggest one are PG&E, isn't it? So contrary to what this guy is telling you, the CAISO, CPUC, and CEC produced a preliminary report on October of 2020 that have since continued their analysis to confirm and supplement their preliminary findings. This report serves as the final root cause analysis and incorporates additional data analysis not available when the preliminary report was published. The final root cause analysis confirms preliminary report findings that the three major factors leading to the August outages were related to extreme weather conditions, resource adequacy, and planning process and market practices. Yeah. PG&E. Mm-hmm. Our country is really just becoming more like Senator Armstrong. Yeah. And they tried to play the card where Turner, our resident expert, argues that the outages are mostly likely to affect people from poor and minority neighborhoods. What they will choose, they will choose what neighborhoods go into darkness. Historically, when we've done this, we choose poor and usually minority neighborhoods to do that. Yeah. Okay. Previously planned power outages in states such as California have a history of disproportionately impacting poor neighborhoods, including one instance in 2019 where a poor, mostly Hispanic neighborhood in Sonoma had its power cut for 8 days. The deliberate outages not only plunged residents into area of darkness for days, but resulting in food spoilage and strained already tight budgets. Yeah, so blame the poor planning and corporations. Yeah, and climate change. Turner noted that these are trade-offs when policymakers decide to switch to renewable sources of energy, but that's not the cause of it, though. Arguing that one such trade-off is increased suffering for people. Okay. Just watch and see what neighborhoods get turned off. Watch and see what happens when neighborhoods in California, New Mexico, New York are turned off the grid. I will tell you what our politicians think about their constituents, and we'll tell you what effect Green Agenda has on our country. But like currently currently we're on fossil fuels, man. They're failing. They're failing. But some argue that renewable energies are not the problem, and instead pointing climate change driven heat waves such as a stress that stresses the grid beyond its limits regardless of what source of energy is used. Yes, that's part of it. Climate change is fueling extreme heat. I love how like it takes you all the way down to the middle before like some semblance of like normalcy is found. This is why we need stationary battery packs everywhere. Yes. Climate change is fueling extreme heat, drought, wildfires, hurricanes, which are overtaxing America's outdated power grid. Yes. Climate Nexus said in an analysis earlier this month, citing a North American Electric Reliability Corporation report that argued extreme temperatures, ongoing drought, and supply chain issues could strain the power grid in vast regions across the country. The analysis noted that there's a growing rate of record-breaking climate events, which argued contributes to both climate change and the stress placed on the grid. Yeah. Fossil fuels are both the root cause and exacerbating influence in these blackout events. Correct. Which Turner here, our resident expert, is trying to promote. The extraction of burning of oil, gas, and coal are primary drivers of climate change, while outdated fossil infrastructure accompanied by wild market volatility have made these fuels expensive and unreliable. Yeah. But Turner argues there are few rewards for the environment when grids are switched over to wind and solar. Here we go. Let's see. The notion they have baptized themselves as green is a joke. They use more fossil fuels in the production, installation, and then the redundancies of wind and solar if they just burn those fossil fuels directly to make electricity. So the idea that they're green is just purely a lie. That's not true. I mean, like, there are obviously some initial costs to make them, but I think that once you have, like, the renewables going at that point, like, you're good. It amazes me that we look at this and we look at all the data and politicians are still hellbent on pushing renewable energy when it's proven to be nothing but a failure. Not really. Actually, fossil fuels have been proven to be more wasteful, more expensive, more problematic. Yep. And here's the real kicker, folks. Turner said the US was already the cleanest country in the world before the push towards renewable energy sources. Ah, yes. How about decommissioning a fossil fuel plant? Yes, that's a good thing. We all want clean air, water, and a clean earth. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's a lie. No one does it better than the US. By far, we're the cleanest nation on earth. By what metric? Adding that the switch from reliable energy sources will plunge entire neighborhoods into darkness. What? He pointed to other examples of countries who have been ahead of the US on switching to wind and solar, such as Germany, arguing that people there have still yet to see any benefit from the transition. Not sure. Germany pays the highest electricity price for the developed world. They pay almost 5 times we do for electricity. Yeah, but there are reasons for that. Hey, Heat, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. The move towards renewable has also caused Germany to be dependent on Russian natural gas to fill the void in their capacity. What? The whole point was to decouple themselves from Russian gas. That's why they're trying to double up their efforts to remove themselves. To fill the void their capacity, while the country has begun to bring some coal plants back online, they've also resorted to buying energy from neighboring France, which produces 80% of its electricity with nuclear power. Turner believes nuclear could be a solution in the US as well, but he notes that the move to nuclear would receive plenty of pushback. Nuclear is absolutely one of the strongest solutions. Nuclear is absolutely a viable solution that has the smallest footprint. The biggest problem nuclear has against it is a very aggressive and very effective fear campaign. Turner placed most of the blame for the current situation on the Biden administration, considering President Biden's renewal to push to switch the country over to wind and solar. But energy prices are now soaring. Yeah, like imagine thinking that yes, my solution is to continue to use the garbage product that is A, expensive, B, clearly to be shown unreliable, and C, currently destroying or being a major factor in the destruction of our ecological systems. Good one. And this is the expert on Fox News, folks. But energy prices are now soaring as families already deal with that kind of high inflation, leaving little hope for relief in the near future. Yeah, that would probably be nicer if we can just get off of these things. Natural gas is trading probably at more than 3 times it should. These are run on natural gas. We have a shortage of it, and the price is insane. Coal's probably 4 times what it should be. All of the results of Biden's energy policies. Which ones exactly? Oh man, it gets better, folks. It gets better, chat. A winter storm last year caused a widespread outage from Texas. Many of the windmills that failed being deliberately turned off so they wouldn't freeze. That's not true at all. Wait, the problem with the Texas issue was that the private company refused to winterize when they were told that it could be a problem. They failed to winterize. They're not connected to the national grid, so it had no backup. And the fossil fuel lines failed. It was the fossil fuel lines that froze. Windmills, and this is true, can actually operate in winter. I know it's a wild concept, but windmills can absolutely function during winter. The problem was exacerbated because the state lacked adequate backup from natural gas plants to keep the lights on in many communities. No, it was a complete failure of the gas lines. It was the fossil fuels that failed. It's bipartisan stupidity? What? It was Republican governors of Texas who for years pushed renewable energy mandates. What? If that can happen in Texas, then we're doomed as a country. Republican governors have made it all but a certainty that the over-privatization, the lack of regulation, and is basically what led to this, right? I mean, yeah. There is no backup. Why? Because Republican governors bought into the lie that all we need is wind and we'll be fine. What? Texas vulnerability outages have already started to show this year, with the state needing to dip into power reserves already this month amid a surge in demand. Grid operators in Texas insist that they have the resources in reserve to power the state through the coming summer months, while Texas Oil and Gas Association President Todd Staples said the state has excess capacity available when plants are online and renewables are able to put power on the grid. It takes an awful lot of political courage to say that this is all just a little nonsense. I mean, it takes a lot of intellectual dishonesty and a lack of willing to engage with the actual data. I mean, if that's what you think that political courage is, I mean, even then, the standard status quo is to say that you are actually pro oil. That's the status quo. It takes political courage. To say, hey, we need to get off this stuff. We need to turn it around, and we need to do this now. Yesterday, 10 years ago. That takes political courage. Oh yeah, this is a media literacy test, Heat. These are failed technologies. Not really. Very expensive technologies. Not really. Made in Chinese slave camp technologies. What? I don't understand that statement. Made in Chinese slave camp technologies. Huh. Okay. They're not green. Yeah, they are. And that's the biggest lie. My question for the Biden administration and any other governors is why do you continue going down this path? What path? Exactly. Does he think that Biden is some kind of climate warrior? No. In fact, the path that Biden is choosing to go down is all but certain to doom us. That's where we're heading. Anyways, this is the garbage that gets peddled in Fox News. Unfreaking real. And what's triggering is that I don't think this is even put as an opinion, because there's no fact basis to this at all. This isn't fact based at all. They're pushing this as a normal article that should have merit, but it doesn't. This is deliberately made to give the impression with their expert, and their expert, this guy, this clown, trying to tell us that fossil fuels are the only way. If the Texas grid fails again, the only people with power will be the Giga Texas factory and the employees with their Teslas. Remember, folks, socialism is when you want environmental policies. That's a big takeaway from this, folks. Socialism is when you want environmental policies that don't contribute to the destruction of the planet. That's socialism. By the way, Coomer Police. I looked up MK Ultra, and apparently it was some type of government operation to test like drugs or something, or like psychedelic effects or something like that. I totally believe that that's a thing. It's not the first time the government would be involved in some dubious testing. Okay. We'll get to this in a second. The plot thickens, folks. The plot thickens. Lindsey Graham and Rudy Giuliani are subpoenaed in Georgia probe of Trump election schemes. Mr. Graham and Giuliani both assisted Trump's push to overturn the 2020 election to win in the Peach State. Fulton County, Georgia grand jury investigating former President Trump's attempt to overturn Joe Biden's 2020 election victory has issued subpoenas to South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham and former Trump attorney Rudolph Giuliani and several other attorneys who played roles in Mr. Trump's scheme. Hey. Okay. The grand jury is looking into whether Mr. Trump or any of his GOP allies violated Georgia law by attempting to push Secretary of State Brett Raffensperger and Governor Brian Kemp to refuse to certify Mr. Trump's Biden's win, or by advocating Georgia legislators to illegally ignore the will of the voters by appointing pro-Trump electors who would have then voted for Mr. Trump when the U.S. Electoral College met on 14th December of 2020. Any one of these. I mean, like, folks, there's literally audio evidence of this. There's literal audio evidence of this. It's about a hour-long phone call, I think. A very perfect phone call to the Secretary of State, Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, where he was told that he needed to find 11K votes, or whatever the number was. To be honest, I can't remember the exact one, but that's not relevant to the point. The point is that this was a president who was trying to essentially coerce or bribe or ask in a definitely improper way for a official, the Secretary of State, to find him votes. Yeah. Folks, this is the Republican Party. They do not believe in the democratic process whatsoever. One subpoena recipient, Mr. Eastman, has also been the subject of this year-long investigation conducted by the January 6th, which found this former Chapman University law professor pressured then Vice President Mike Pence to violate the law by unilaterally disregarding electoral votes from swing states that won by Mr. Biden during the January 6, 2021 session, at which Congress certified his electoral college win over Mr. Trump. Yeah, the quick answer is yes, they did. Earlier this year, California federal judge found that Mr. Eastman and Mr. Trump more likely than not dishonestly conspired to obstruct that joint session, which briefly suspended when a riotous insurrectionist mob of Mr. Trump's supporters stormed the Capitol in what was the worst attack on America's legislators since Major General Robert Ross ordered British troops to set it ablaze in 1812. And Mr. Eastman also pressured Georgia legislators during a post-election hearing in which he claimed there was more than enough evidence that Mr. Biden's victory was so tainted that it should be rescinded by legislators. Both Trump and Graham placed separate calls to Raffensperger in the days after the 2020 election to pressure him to find ways to throw out absentee ballots for Mr. Biden or somehow discover enough votes to make the Trump the victor in the Peach State. According to a copy of subpoena viewed by The Independent, the Georgia judge who signed off on the document found that Mr. Graham questioned Secretary Raffensperger and his staff about re-examining certain absentee ballots cast in Georgia in order to explore the possibility of a more favorable outcome for Mr. Trump, and made references to allegations of widespread voter fraud in November of 2020 in Georgia, consistent with public statements made by known affiliates of the Trump campaign during the last two phone calls to Mr. Raffensperger and several members of his staff in the weeks following the 2020 election. Yeah. Mr. Mitchell, who has served as a lawyer for the Trump campaign, also participated in the call between Mr. Trump and Raffensperger, during which then the president implored the election official to find, quote, there it is, 11,780 votes, a number that would have erased Biden's winning margin. Coincidentally, of course. The same judge who approved the subpoenas against other Trump allies found that Ms. Mitchell made allegations of widespread voter fraud in November of 2020 in Georgia and pressured Mr. Raffensperger to take action in his official capacity to investigate unfounded claims of fraud during Mr. Trump's now infamous perfect phone call with the Georgia top official. The Georgia investigation is overseen by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who launched it in early 2021 after the recording of Mr. Trump's call with Mr. Raffensperger was made public by the Washington Post, and later expanded it to include Giuliani and Eastman, and Eastman's pressure campaigns against Georgia lawmakers. Although the special grand jury cannot issue indictments, it is authorized to meet through May of 2023 and can issue a report recommending that Mr. Willis seek criminal charges. Some of Trump's targets include Mr. Raffensperger and Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr have already given evidence in closed sessions before the panel. A spokesperson for Mr. Graham did not immediately respond to an email request for comment from The Independent. A text message from Mr. Giuliani seeking comment was also not immediately replied to. Of course, the standard response is, "I'm above the law. You can't subpoena me." And then when that fails, they swear and they dial down their IQ to the point where they start drooling on themselves in response. Yeah, I don't know. Yep, that's usually how it goes. That's the standard procedure. I mean, really, what is coming out as like we get more and more information is truly disturbing, and really, I mean, it should be in a reasonable, logical world that this should be enough for people to be like, you know what? Maybe the Republican Party has no business being in power. I mean, like, imagine seeing and knowing this information and then still wanting to vote for these people. These people have no regard or the democratic process whatsoever. They don't believe in democracy. It is all a ruse to lull people into a false sense of security. And they will gaslight you, and they will try to deflect, and they will try to put up other things, distractions, red herrings, I should say. Usually in the form of like culture war garbage, all designed to make you angry, to make you just not pay attention to what's actually happening, to lull you into a false sense of security that they're actually not really, I don't know about that, until they actually seize power for real. And when that happens, the switch will be flipped. Guarantee it, folks. Guarantee it. They will tell you they're all about freedom and all about democracy and small government and all this other bullshit. That Fox article was literally as misinformation as the misinformation gets. Yeah, of course. 100%. It was a complete test in media literacy, my friend. That was the whole point of me exhibiting the nonsense. He wasn't stating facts about anything, about some things, and just lying about others like people usually do. Yeah, and it wasn't even listed under opinions. It was just listed under like the energy sector. No disclaimer whatsoever. No, like, pushback on, like, hey, our guest said, like, here, this was not actually correct. This is what actually the consensus of information points to. Nothing. No attempt at, looking for the truth whatsoever. But that's what's to be expected on Fox News. But even if that's true and Republican voters can see that, they would rather volunteer to test landmines with no armor than to vote Democrat. Yeah, and like you could start seeing like the disturbing parallels of like this just it's uncanny, Maple Leaf Dragon. It's uncanny. And it's just wild to me, like, how conservatism has just managed to, like, stranglehold the minds of these people, that they would literally do anything, up to and include except authoritarianism, as long as it's wrapped under the guise of, like, freedom and, small government. If you can wrap authoritarianism in a cloak of freedom, small government, and then you just put some Jesus, some Jesus magic, I'd love to see some fact checking at Fox. No way. Come on, Jack. I'm late to talk about it, but I was still washing the dishes after my break. No worries. My dishes are... Is it really just dishwashing time? What? I swear half of you are doing dishes. Doomer here? It's okay. It's okay, as long as that Doomer turns into some type of energy. It's only natural to feel Doomerish. GOP commandments: loyalty above all, loyalty above all, loyalty above all, loyalty above all, loyalty above all. Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, of course, the ultimate one is loyalty above all. Bonus commandment: Jesus. Jesus Christ. And watching you. Hey. Bonus commandment, yes. Thou shalt watch only one streamer. I'm happy to see some dragons here. Yeah, the Dragon Squad always makes an appearance. At least some of them. Maple Leaf Dragon. Echo Wrestle Dragon. We got some regular. We got some regular dragons. The US always making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg. Yeah. Even in the new time slot, you guys are the bomb. Yeah. And the rest of you are okay. That's funny. Well, if there's any semblance of accountability, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna hold my breath, but if there's any semblance of accountability, we'll see some of these folks face the music. All right, we've got a couple of articles. The problem is the bigger the omelet, the more the center is uncooked. Ha! True. Would highly recommend a documentary on Netflix called Rotten. What's it about? Oh, like the monopolizing of food industries and stuff? I gotta check that out. I can't afford Netflix? Well, Maple Leaf Dragon. There's even one on water and avocados? Jeez.
I see her.
Oh, it's very loud. All right, we've got one free cute animal video before we get into the other before we get into the other articles, because it's gonna get a little bit rough from here. Sounds good, but also terrible. Yeah. Jeez. Well, apparently yesterday there was another mass shooting incident. Of course, on the 4th of July. Yikes. Unreal. Yeah, I just caught a glimpse of that. I just caught a glimpse of that. Wait, other than the ones that were shot at the parade? No, I think that was it. Memo for the record. There was at least 3 that I heard about? Okay, well, Jesus. Welcome to America, where you have to distinguish fireworks from gunshots, true. I didn't know there was multiple incidents, but hey. That's how messed up it is, where you have to question which incident. Because there was multiple of them. The parade fireworks in Philly and a block party somewhere in Ohio. Jesus. Yikes. There's always multiple incidents. They all just don't get national attention. Yeah, because there's so many of them. Imagine if they had to report on every single one of them. Jeez. Alright, folks. I was not aware of all of those, and you didn't list the major one in Chicago North. What? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's the one that I was thinking about. Okay. Yeah, Memo. That's the one that I was thinking about. Yep. Unreal. Yeah, I wasn't into celebrating. Anyways, yeah, well. Not really much to celebrate, huh?
Her little... I see her little face pop out from the tire of the car. And I was shocked because she was tiny. She was like 5 weeks old, max.
Oh.
I did have a look around the whole area to see if I could find any other kittens her age, but there really was no response, and she really was just all alone there. So I went and grabbed my trap, I got it all set up, and then she starts climbing out and then just walks straight up to me. Hi. Hi, sweetie.
Oh.
Sweetness. So I wrapped her up in a little burrito and walked her back to my car. I got her into the carrier and went back home. She had some car engine oil on her, so I gave her a bath right away. So
Aw,
after
poor
that,
kitty.
she was very chill. She let me trim all her little dirty claws, and she just wanted love and affection. She just was immediately obsessed with attention, which I loved, obviously. Because Ginny was so small, I didn't feel super comfortable just letting her roam the apartment. So whenever I was walking around, I was usually holding her, but she still wanted some autonomy, so she would wriggle out of my hands and climb up to my shoulder to make it her own decision.
No.
Then it became such a habit that that's genuinely where she wanted to be most of the time.
Shoulder cat.
To the point of when she was old enough to have free run of the apartment, she would climb all the way up my jeans, up my shirt, just to sit up on my shoulder, usually while I was doing the dishes or going about my daily life. She always just wanted to sit up there on my shoulder. I knew that putting Ginny up for adoption was going to be really hard because we had created such a bond. But I do already have 2 permanent cats, and I have to keep space in my apartment to be able to continue rescuing and bringing in more kittens off the street. So when I did actually put her up for adoption, I knew that I'd had to just find her the perfect home and the perfect companion so that she could have someone to grow up with and bond with. We actually had another solo kitten around a similar age, and we thought that it would be very cute if those two got along. It just took a few days of having them here and playing together and eating together, and it was like they had always known each other. They went home with their adopters a few days later, and I couldn't have imagined a better home for them. They got loved up on immediately, and the amount of updates that we receive of how much love and attention they're getting just makes me feel so good and so happy about having picked the perfect home for them both.
That's adorable. Yay. When we had the fireworks display at the riverfront, we used to joke that the US was commencing its invasion of Canada. I live in a border town. I've made that joke in 15 years because it seemed a little too likely it would happen. Well, yeah, I would say it's... I don't know. I don't know about that one. Oh, cats. It is a cute cat video. Yeah, I saw that one. Go Wrestle Dragon. They rescued a kitty in a soda machine. Yeah. Let's see if we can find a picture of that. Is it just me or does Shoulder Cat sound like a good sidekick? True. Free Skywater. Like rain? Look at this poor kitty. So you finally got rain? It means I don't have to water my lawn. True. Well, I wouldn't say there's nothing special about it. I used to have a kitten named Armageddon. That's cute. Alright, folks. The zero water filter is better. Yes! In fact, I believe it was you who told me about this. Yep, aha. I remember. I found out about dehydrated water the only day. What? Dehydrated water? What? How does that even work? I don't think that's serious. Yeah, I don't think that's possible. Wait, hold on. Hold on. I don't know about you, but, this, the Simulcra has a point. Clearly, oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Here. Clearly, there we go. The Simulacra. Clearly, they had a point. Alright? Don't knock it till you try it, folks. Simulacra. $15 at Walmart. Oh shoot, that price? True. Oh yikes. I don't know if Walmart knows. Oh man, I just caught that. I don't know if Walmart knows, but that's gonna be a big yikes for me. I think I saw one of those on Pawn Stars. No, yeah, it's true. Ah. Gotcha. Yes, this is real is a tagline missing from most products. They must be fake. No, it's I think it's a joke. Because it says yes, this is real. You're gonna be telling me that Santa's made up. Well, you might want to cover your ears for this one. No, this is a joke. It's a joke. Empty contents into any size container. Just add water to taste. Drink then question your life choices. The final product is undrinkable when frozen. Evaporates rapidly. If you believe in yourself, anything is possible. I'm back. What the heck is this? Liquid death? No, it's dehydrated water. It's a gag product. All right, folks. Major derail. No, it's important to get to the bottom of this dehydrated water mystery. Clearly, we needed to solve that issue. Folks, I do need to take one last second to do a show. Today is the last day for the sponsorship of this month. Today's the last day. We are sponsored by Factor this month, or today would be the last day. Factor was a company that actually was bought from HelloFresh, and we are currently using HelloFresh, so we figured why not? Factor, get fresh, ready-made meals delivered to your doorstep when you sign up with Factor. Factor's chef-created meals are fresh, never frozen, and designed by dietitians to ensure every meal is packed with premium, science-backed nutritional quality. No more meal prep, no more dishes, no more unhealthy food or fast food. Factor offers the most convenient way to eat well while eating right. They offer vegan and vegetarian options. Factor menu are updated weekly, including 27 plus meals, 34 plus add-on options. Choose your favorite meals, or let us craft it for you based on your taste preferences and meal history. If you use today's code Factor SE 1962, or just hit !Factor, get $120 off, and you get to support the stream. It's a 2-in-1. It's a twofer. Look, there you go. Factor SE 1962 for $120 off. Also, while you're at it, folks, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the follow button. Go on to the YouTubes. Hit the subscribe button. I saw a couple of you that hit the subscribe button. We're up to 190, folks. Also, join the Discord if you want to keep up with the channel. Keep up with the channel. Don't forget to join us Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time as we switch over to the evening schedule. I appreciate all the folks who have been here. And thank you so much to Winner Veggie for the community, for the gifted sub. Thank you for the offline follow. Jack Chuko. Mayhem Hippie with the 100 biddies. Alio with the 10 biddies. And Jamtomb with the raid. It's definitely has been fun. It's definitely different. Definitely different. All right, we've got 2 more and then we will be good to go. Here's the latest data on climate and food, and it's not good. Climate changes abound as industrial agriculture is threatened by access to key resources from water to healthy soils. As a devastating historic drought from Illinois to Texas to California grinds on, sophisticated mapping and data projection brings more bad news. Agriculture areas are among the places the U.S. is experiencing the highest temperature increases. It's happening already, says RV Google fellow who created a public database which pulls information from the U.S. and Geological Survey and NASA to map water withdrawal from irrigation against projected temperature rise across the U.S. counties, and discovered a correlation. A changing climate affects everything from water crops to insects. I mean, yeah. Yes. Actually, just waiting to get my meals delivered from the local meal service here in my city. Nice. It's happening already. Oh, yes. Here we are. Most affected are almonds, which... I mean, almonds use a ton of water. Just saying. Olive oil and other specialty produce from California's Central Valley, as well as citrus, grapes, salad, and salad farms elsewhere in the state. California is home to some of the largest dairies and pork slaughterhouses in the country, and grass-fed cattle ranchers in the north part of the state. Row crop farmers harvesting corn and soybeans in Arkansas and other Midwest states are also impacted. At least 2,000 cattle in Kansas died this month during a heat wave. Jesus. Yikes. The skyrocketing price of water in New Mexico and Arizona have made ranchers and other meat-producing operations considering getting out of the business. Yeah. In Texas, the state responsible for the most greenhouse gas emissions, where some western counties have been facing the least rainfall in the 19th century, beef and chicken will require millions of tons of water annually. Yeah. Drought in Texas is currently, and that's just not even like, I don't know if this statement is even considering like how much resource it's also taking to grow the food, excess food that needs to feed them. The drought in Texas is currently responsible for the very poor conditions about 11% of the state's corn crop. The regions America relies on most to feed its people are drying up as populations have grown. More water has been pumped to residential areas as well as large-scale farms. Aquifers like Oglala in the Midwest and waterways like the Colorado River that flow to California and Arizona are struggling. This is the defining challenge for the next few decades. The regions don't just have water access and drought to worry about. Soil degradation is expected to be one of the most central threats to human health in the coming decades. Yeah. That's wild. And it's all because of our poor practices. In America's Midwest, over the past 160 years, nearly 60 billion metric tons of topsoil have eroded. Too much is lost every year due to man-made influence like pollution from fertilizer, agriculture chemicals, and antibiotic runoff. Some experts predict the Earth will run out of topsoil within the next 6 decades. That's, yeah, it's not too far from now. Modern agriculture has been built on 3 key assumptions. says David Barber, partner at Agriculture and Food Investors, at Food Investors Aston Venture, cheap energy, free water, and consistent weather. The whole system does not function without that. It reveals some of this for the house of cards that it is. Yep. The whole food system does not function without that. It reveals some of this for the house of cards that it is. A hotter planet is expected to produce less nutritious food. The internal chemistry of some staple crops like wheat and rice are disrupted when air is polluted with carbon dioxide. The amount of proteins and vitamins produced tends to decrease according to several studies. Our legacy food system is now a food system in transition. Like clean energy is going from what it's going to be. It's going to be better for people and more respectful of the soil, ocean, and planet, and the consumer wants that. Ignoring it, say that it will never change is not correct. Yeah. So, folks, if you care about the little things in life, like food, like being able to grow, the stuff that feeds us, maybe, just a thought, we should really be paying attention to this. And to continue to piggyback off this, Spain and Portugal suffering the driest climate for 1,200 years. Effects of human-caused global heating are blocking vital winter rains with severe implications for farming and tourism. Spain and Portugal are suffering their driest climate for at least 1,200 years, according to research with several implications for both food production, which we just talked about, and tourism. More rain on the Iberian Peninsula falls in winter as wet, low-pressure systems blow in from the Atlantic, but a high-pressure system off the coast called the Azores High can block wet weather fronts. Researchers found that winters featuring extremely large Azores highs have increased dramatically from one winter in 10 before 1850 to 1 in 4 since 1980. These extremes also push the wet weather northwards, making downpours in the North UK and Scandinavia more likely. The scientists said that the more frequent large Azores highs could only have been caused by the climate crisis caused by humanity's carbon emissions. The number of extremely large Azores highs in the last 100 years is really unprecedented when you look at the previous 1,000 years, said Dr. Caroline Omenfur at the Woods Hole Oceanic Institute in the US, a part of the research team. The implications, because an extremely large Azores high means relative dry conditions for the Iberian Peninsula and Mediterranean. We could also conclusively link this to anthropogenic emissions. Yep. Dishes and dinner are done. Oh shoot, I was considering moving back to Mexico, but not in the water down there. Yeah. Well. It seems like wherever you go, there's going to be some type of issue, yeah? Dishes and dinner are done. Nice. The Iberian Peninsula has been hit by increasing heat waves and droughts in recent years. And in this year, May was the hottest on record for Spain. Forest fires that killed dozens of people in the region in 2017 followed a heat wave made 10 times more likely by the climate crisis, while the Tagus River, the longest in the region, is at risk of drying up completely, according to environmentalists. The new research, published in the Journal of Nature Geoscience, analyzed weather data stretching back from 1850 and computer models replicating the climate back to AD 50. AD 850. It found that before 1850, the start of significant human greenhouse gas emissions, extremely large Azores highs occurred once every 10 years on average. From 1850 to 1980, the frequency was once every 7 years, but after 1980, this rose to every 4 years. Data shows that extremely large Azores highs / average monthly rainfall winter, about a third. Further data from chemical analysis of stalagmites in caves in Portugal showing that low rainfall correlates closely with large Azores highs. Irked! How's it going? This year until next year. Yep, what's going on? You're not allowed to stream this late. It's me messing with my sense of time and reality. Well, being here will mess with your sense of time and reality by itself, right? Just the fact of being here. Just the fact that you're here, whether it's morning or evening, by definition, should mess with your sense of time and reality. The computer simulations of climate of the past of the past millennium covered a period of up to 2005, but other studies covering later years are consistent with new findings, and the Azores high is expected to continue to expand, further increasing the drought on the Iberian Peninsula until global carbon emissions are cut to net zero. Yeah. Also, side note, yeah, it doesn't bode well. But also, Spain is also one of the world's largest producer of olives and major source of grapes, oranges, tomatoes, and other produce. Yeah. Do I have sage? Sage? No? What if I do Sag in all caps? Damn. Sag. Now I am Sag. There we go. Now I am Sag. Yeah, I need more Twitch emotes. I love the Pepe emotes. There's like certain Pepe emotes that I really like. This by far is one of my favorite ones too. All right, folks. we've got one more study. Methane proves methane much more sensitive to global heating than previously thought. Yay. Good stuff. Methane is 4 times more sensitive to global warming than previously thought, a new study shows. The result helps to explain... Ooh, excuse me. The result helps to explain the rapid growth of methane in years and suggests that if left unchecked, methane-related warming will escalate in the decades to come. Methane is sensitive to heating, or is heating sensitive to methane? Methane is sensitive to heating. No. Heating is sensitive to methane. Yes. There we go. The growth of this greenhouse gas, which over a 20-year time span is more than 80 times as potent as carbon dioxide, has been slowing since the turn of the millennium, but since 2007 has undergone a rapid rise, with measurements from the U.S. National NOAA recording it passing 1,900 parts per billion last year, nearly triple pre-industrial levels. What has been particularly puzzling has been the fact that methane emissions have been increasing at even greater rates in the last 2 years, despite the global pandemic, when anthropogenic sources were assumed to be less significant. Said Simon Redfern, an earth scientist at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. About 40% of methane emissions come from natural sources such as wetlands, while 60% comes from anthropogenic sources such as cattle farming, fossil fuel extraction, and landfill sites. Possible explanations for the rise in methane emissions range from expanding exploration of oil and natural gas, rising emissions from agriculture and landfills, and the rising natural emission as tropical wetlands warm and Arctic tundra melts. But another explanation could be a slowdown of the chemical reaction that removes methane from the atmosphere. The predominant way in which methane is mopped up via reaction with hydroxyl radicals in the atmosphere is via reaction with hydroxyl radicals in the atmosphere. The hydroxyl radical has been termed the detergent of the atmosphere because it works to clean the atmosphere of harmful trace gases. But hydroxyl radicals also react with carbon monoxide, and an increase in wildfires may have pumped more carbon monoxide into the atmosphere and altered the chemical balance. On average, carbon monoxide molecule remains in the atmosphere for about 3 months before it's attacked by a hydroxyl radical, while methane persists for about a decade. So wildfires have a swift impact on using up the hydroxyl detergent and reduce the methane removal. To understand what was driving the methane acceleration, Redfern and his colleague Hyson Cheng used 4 decades of methane measurements and analyzed changes in climate to identify how the availability of hydroxyl radicals might have changed and what impact the changing climate might have had on methane sources. Yikes. Their findings, published in the journal Nature Communications, suggest global heating is 4 times more influential in accelerating methane emissions than previously estimated, with rising temperatures helping to produce more methane by speeding up microbe activity in wetlands, for example, while at the same time slowing down the removal of methane from atmosphere, with the same increasing numbers of wildfire, reducing availability of hydroxyl radicals. In the upper atmosphere, it was a really shocking result, and highlights that the effect of climate change can be even more extreme and dangerous than we had thought. If the oxidative capacity of the air is also in trouble, as the results suggest, then we have a double-edged sword, said Ewan Nisbet, an earth scientist at Royal Holloway, University of London, who led the UK's global methane budget project and was not involved in the study. That's a real worry, because methane acceleration is perhaps the largest factor challenging our Paris Agreement goals. Okay. The first sentence said methane is sensitive to warming, so it could be both, which would imply potential for a runaway greenhouse gas effect past a certain threshold. Well, I mean, to be quite honest, this all is aft. This all is pretty aft. Because if I understand correctly, what they're saying is that the atmosphere has its cleanup service, which is the hydroxyl radicals. They go and clean up these gases. But because the acceleration in wildfires, those resources are being kept occupied. And now, it turns out that and thus making methane much more of a problem than we originally thought. While carbon reduction needs to be remain the main focus, Redfern and Cheng said methane cannot be ignored. Nisbet agreed, saying much of the emission comes from recently industrialized or developing countries and they need help. What is needed is not money, but good governance. We need to persuade China and India, the two biggest emitters, to join the global methane pledge and deal with their coal mine vents, crop waste fires, and landfill emissions. And what we need to look at Africa, where methane emissions may be growing rapidly from growing population, widespread crop waste fires, and landfills and warming natural wetlands. Meanwhile, reducing and preventing forest fire, biomass burning is also important. To worry, the worry is that climate change may accelerate such risk, feeding back to the atmospheric methane concentrations in a vicious cycle, which is what Erkt was saying. A feedback loop. A methane feedback loop, if you will. Well, it seems like you're on the money about something. Some good memes, folks. Hang on to your hats, folks, because it looks like the more information we get, the worse it seems. In the words of a wise man, Mr. Samuel L. Jackson, hold on to your butts. I need to have like a prop, like a cigarette prop, to do that bit properly. Every new climate report starts with our last report was overly optimistic. Yeah, it seems like that seems to be the theme, right? It starts with like, well, it looks like we may have been a little bit too optimistic. It's actually more F than we originally thought. Yep. Yeah. That's what we have to deal with from time to time, Erkt.
They're clearly feeling squeezed by the rise. under your butt.
There we go. Oh, I've been dealing with it too. Really? Perfect. Tina gets them too. Definitely. Nice meme. Yeah. I mean, PasadaBot is just like such a good tool. Like, PasadaBot is such a good tool. Only got one person in that one? Yeah, it just gets more and more absurd. I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, this is just someone who... someone who just is looking for attention, essentially. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Yeah, imagine it. Yeah, like, that's literally their entire, like, I guess, essence. I mean, the best thing that we could do is just simply ignore and move on, right? There's no point in paying attention to any of this. Because that's what they want. They want attention. It's in all the left poll channels I mod or frequent in. Yeah, it seems like it. Gotcha. Does the 4th of July mass shooting bother you? I heard Joe Biden had a lot to say about it. I mean, he had a lot to say about a lot of things, but, like, at the end of the day, I mean... Wow, another mass shooting. It turns out, Astro, that wasn't even the only one that day. That wasn't even the only one that day. That wasn't even the only one that day. It just hit our news headlines over here. Sheesh. I wonder if it's because are these things? Hey, Irk, have you seen like a increase in frequency, or is this just because of the evening like time frame? They're not like active in the mornings, or what? What is the deal? Oh, the news just came out yesterday. Ah, I see. Yeah, we saw. Yeah, we saw. I mean, it has recently increased a lot. I didn't see much of anything for a good while. Gotcha. I mean, OG Prodigy came in here and did some some of their Posada magic, which has been excellent at keeping this just kind of at bay. So maybe the increase in incidents have prompted OG Prodigy to run like a couple of different commands for Posada bot. We get reports of major incidents like shootings, rail crashes, riots, and shootings. Jeez. Yikes. Yeah. Like I said, Astro, I mean, the sad part is that wasn't even the only one that day. You have no power here. Well, that's amusing to say the least. The only thing I will say is, man, it'd be nice if we had, like, Twitch do something, you know? I've seen it in other channels too. Yeah. Yep, it's a thing. Yeah, it sure would be, but we're on our own, folks. All right. I mean, between Seribot and Posada bot, like, I think that the majority of it has been pretty much kept in check. But yeah, the best thing that we can do is just ignore. Make sure Posada bot is doing their thing. Make sure Posada bot is doing its thing. And just ignore. Alright, folks, it is getting to that time of 8 p.m. I do gotta get going. Don't forget, folks, if you enjoy the content, hit the follow button. We are here Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. Ha! 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Now I'm the one that's lost in time and space itself. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the news and politics. Make sure you spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be. We're going to head out to left flank vets. Yeah, I don't really understand what the benefit is. Yeah, like, there's no, like, nothing. There's nothing. They don't even get an A for effort, okay? They don't even get an A for that. Don't forget, folks, if you hit the follow button, you will get 5 free emotes, including Backita the cat. Don't forget to join the Discord. Don't forget to spread the word far and wide. Don't forget to smack the big red subscribe button on the YouTubes. I've already seen a couple of you do it before. I appreciate that. And as always, folks, so this is your new schedule. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. I appreciate the subs. I appreciate the biddies. And the offline follow. I appreciate that. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Thank you, Arct. I appreciate that. Thank you, Astro. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Mono. Echo Resto Dragon. Maple Leaf Dragon. This time Okura Zeoduke. Peace. Hang tight, folks. Hang tight. Left flank vets. Let's do that. Oh, it's I get to actually raid left flank vets. Huh. Alright, folks. We are getting ready. Alright, show some massive love. I don't see them in the sidebar. They should be. Let me see. Hold on. Before we, Oh, did they really just go offline? Did they really just go offline? They did. Maybe I unfollowed them? No, they're offline. Literally right as I was about to raid them. Alright. No worries. Surfs will do. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.